So for the next step, we're going to turn the stencil over so that you see the grid backing, and we're going to remove this from the stencil. So you're going to start by peeling the stencil, so the sticky stencil, away from this waxy grid backing. And when we peel it, we want to pull it straight back. So it might be best to just put your fingers on it and pull it. You do not want to pull up towards the ceiling because that's just going to want to, all these little inside pieces, that's going to make them want to lift more off the tape. We want them to stay down on the tape on the other side of the stencil. And I find it works best to pull off at an angle like this rather than pulling straight back like this. So kind of pull at a 45-degree angle. And we're just going to pull it straight back, and we're going to go slowly. We want to make sure that all of the stencil pieces stay down on the tape and don't come up with this grid paper. So if you did a really good job of pushing down your stencil with your squeegee, your driver's license, or your credit card, then they're going to stick really well. And if you didn't do it quite hard enough, they're going to start to come up with onto this grid paper. So we're going to show you here what you would do if it does come up with the grid paper. So as you're rolling it back, if you see this come up here and it's stuck to your grid paper, what you're going to do is you're going to take the grid paper and you're going to fold it back down and crease it. Then you're just going to apply pressure to get it to re-stick to the tape on the front of the stencil. Now you'll want to hang on to the grid paper that you've pulled off of the stencil because we're going to use it later in another step. Now when you go to place your stencil on your wood, keep in mind that your stencil is either a perfect rectangle or a perfect square, so you can use that to help you to center it on your wood from top to bottom and left and right. And so that's why we wanted to leave some area along the side where we could see our stencil so that it could help us when we're lining it up here. So I'm going to bring this closer here. So we can use this because it's a straight edge to make sure that we have it lined up along the top so that we've got the same spacing up here as we do down here and left to right. Now your stencil might go exactly edge to edge on your wood here or top to bottom, or it might be inset a little bit, but either way you can just use the edge of the stencil to center it the best you can, top to bottom, left to right. So that looks pretty straight. So once you get it where you want it, you can go ahead and smooth it down. Push this down with your hands really well to get it stuck to the wood. So now we're going to remove the tape, and we want to start with the piece of tape that's the topmost layer, which in this case is over here. So we're going to pull this tape back, and same thing like when we were removing the grid paper, we don't want to pull straight up towards the ceiling because that's going to want to lift the stencil pieces off the wood. We want to pull straight back. So again, it might just find it easiest to take your fingers and drag it back. Prevents you from pulling up. And we'll work with the next piece. Now we want to go slow. Now you see this S here is kind of coming up a little bit. So you can use your finger to kind of hold this down as you pull this back. And we have another little piece here coming up. So I'm just going to take my finger, hold that down. And we're going to pull this back. Again, just go slowly because you don't want these pieces to come off. You want them to stay on, and you can just use your finger to pull all the tape off. So we would just normally pull all the rest of the tape off. You don't need to watch all that, it's kind of boring. And once you get the tape off, then we'll be stenciling.